Super Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie are some of the greatest video games of all time, and I still treasure them and adore them from my childhood. There's so many characters, so many worlds, so many memorable moments. They're hard to forget, even 20 years later. And I especially love Banjo-Tooie. And when I was revisiting the game recently, I noticed something very odd and peculiar. And let me know if you guys ever noticed this before. But do you remember the second level in Mario 64, Jolly Roger Bay? Right? The water level with the ship and everything. And then in Banjo-Tooie, there's also Jolly Roger's Lagoon. Could this be the same Jolly Roger? Does Jolly Roger also own the bay in Mario 64? And does this mean that it's another connection where the worlds of Rareware and Nintendo were always one and the same? Is Banjo and Mario part of the same universe? And both levels are very similar. There's lots of water, you can swim under the water. In Jolly Roger Lagoon, when you go underneath the water, there's the ruins of Atlantis, right? And then when you go under the water in Jolly Roger Bay in Mario 64, there's like the pirate ship. Could it be, they have similar things that are underneath the depths of the water? Mysterious stuff that has to do with the myths and legends of the sea. Banjo and Kazooie were always similar to Mario anyway. They have the same colors as Mario, and, we've all made the connection between Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. There's so many similarities. In particular, I have these side-by-side photos, one of Jolly Roger Lagoon from Banjo-Tooie, and one from Jolly Roger Bay from Mario 64. In this photo, you can see Banjo looking out to the horizon, and you can see the cliff, right? Well, over that cliff that you can't access to, over that cliff, is that where Jolly Roger Bay is in Mario 64? Was Banjo on the other side of that wall the whole time? Because even the cliffs look the same. They're greenish and gray in both levels. Just right over that hill, is that where it is? And plus the whole thing of bay and bays and lagoons, they're so similar, right? Jolly Roger owns the lagoon, right? In the entire Mario series, we've never heard of a Jolly Roger character before. So in Mario 64, who is this Jolly Roger character? We never see him. They never really mention anything about him. Is this the same Jolly Roger from Banjo-Tooie? When they made Banjo-Tooie, did they purposefully design this level and name it this so that they connected Mario 64 to Banjo-Tooie? Did Banjo-Tooie answer a mystery that was left in Mario 64 about who Jolly Roger is? And now in Banjo-Tooie, you see him. This is Jolly Roger. He's the same person that owns the bay in Mario 64. And then, not to get too confusing, but this will get confusing, there's also Whale Bay from Diddy Kong Racing, and I think that has a pirate ship in there too. So you got Jolly Roger Bay, Whale Bay, and there's also Crescent Island, that level by the sea, where there's a giant pirate ship there too. Is this the same pirate ship that's in Jolly Roger Bay's Mario level? Well, Crescent Island is located on Sherbet Island, which is its own island in Diddy Kong Racing. And the portals to the racetracks in Diddy Kong Racing, are they dimensions? Are they like gateways to other dimensions? Pathways to other locations that aren't right there? The characters in Diddy Kong Racing are traveling to different spaces, just like how Mario travels to different spaces when he jumps in the paintings. Did Diddy Kong and the gang also did the same thing there too? Because a lot of people have talked about the theory about the painting. When Mario jumps into the painting in Mario 64, is he traveling to a different dimension? Or rather, he's actually traveling to just a different location in the Mushroom Kingdom. This is confirmed in Mario Odyssey, because they also had the paintings in there too. Another classic side-by-side comparison between the bay and the lagoon, both with the name of Jolly Roger. Here you got these pathways of bricks, of cement that Banjo and Mario run around on. Right next to it is the ocean. It's so similar. You got the mountains surrounding it all. It feels like the same structure, really. And the only reason the bricks look different because it's on the other side of the wall or something. Like if Banjo traveled further underneath the ocean of the lagoon, would he eventually find his way maybe to find the Mario 64 level? Why would the name of Jolly Roger be the same name for both levels? There has to be a connection there. And when we dig even further, Tip-Top actually appears in Jolly Roger's Lagoon. Of course, Tip-Top also appeared in Banjo-Kazooie, but Tip-Top is significant in Jolly Roger's Lagoon, also because of Whale Bay, the connection of Whale Bay and Crescent Island, Sherbet Island. So Diddy Kong and the gang and Banjo are part of the same universe, and they also share the same universe as the Mario characters. This is possible considering how back in the day Rareware was a second-party publisher to Nintendo. They were like family. I can see them being part of the same universe. And if that's not enough evidence, plus there's a level in Tooie where you talk to this toilet and Kazooie actually mentions Mario. Then call a plumber, I think Mario's free at blah 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 blah. So Kazooie knows who Mario is, and isn't that evidence that they know each other? So let's talk about Sherbet Island for a second from Diddy Kong Racing. You know, it's its own island in the middle of nowhere, right? Middle of the ocean. In there, Sherbet Island, right? It's its own world, pretty much. Is this where Mario and Banjo-Kazooie are in their respective levels? Like when Banjo goes to Jolly Roger Lagoon, is that also located on Sherbet Island? The same with Jolly Roger Bay from Mario 64. Is Jolly Roger Bay and Lagoon located on Sherbet Island? And speaking of giant sea creatures, all three of these worlds in these three N64 classics, they all feature giant sea monsters. In Diddy Kong Racing, you race against Blubber the Octopus, memorable character, and then you got in Jolly Roger Bay from Mario 64, there's the giant eel monster, right? And this giant eel monster has the massive teeth. Doesn't this eel monster remind you of Lord Who Fack Fack, who was the fish boss that was also in Jolly Roger Lagoon? It just seems similar to me. So not only do both levels share the same name, Jolly Roger, but both levels also feature a giant sea creature with massive teeth with a scary face and demeanor. And last but not least, we have to talk about Captain Black Eye, the pirate that's drunk in the bar in Jolly Roger's bar in Jolly Roger Lagoon in Banjo-Tooie. I mean, this character is an old pirate, right? And then in Jolly Roger Bay in Mario 64, there's a sunken pirate ship. Is this his ship that he lost? Where he lost his crew and now he's drunk and he can't find his ship anymore? Also, is this the same pirate ship that's from Crescent Island in Diddy Kong Racing? Or the same pirate ship that appears in Whale Bay in Diddy Kong Racing? Are these Captain Black Eye's ships that he lost on his adventures of being a pirate? These are his ships, the one in Mario 64 and Diddy Kong Racing. Could it be another connection Captain Black Eye gives us to Mario and Diddy Kong? It makes the character in Banjo-Tooie of Jolly Roger. This makes his character so much more intriguing, because his character actually was always intriguing. There was just something off about him that always made fans wonder, like, what is he about? How does he own this giant lagoon? And how come there's no one else there at the lagoon? It's just him and like two other people in his bar. The place seems abandoned and mysterious. And so does Jolly Roger Bay. That level also seems mysterious too. All the fans have always wondered, whose pirate ship is that in Mario 64? What does all that mean? Is Jolly Roger the character in Tooie? Does he answer all these questions to us? And lastly, I want to add that this is why people always still love the old late 90s video games, because they had such mysteries to them. And it kept people wondering, because the people that made these games, they cared so much about their worlds. And they were so imaginative and mysterious. And that's another thing that makes these old 90s video games so special. It's lacking in the new video games, that mystery, that lore, that stuff that's left behind for the fans to figure out. And that's what we used to have, especially in platformer games. Why? Because platformers are about an adventure where you play as a main character and you go on this long journey and you notice things that look similar to other things and you start questioning your environments and what does that mean? How does this make sense? You know, all that really cool stuff. And that's one of the things that made Banjo-Kazooie and Mario 64 capture the imagination of 90s kids everywhere. Well, anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I just thought this was a fun little video to make. My name is SuperPat98, and thank you for watching.